Welcome to episode 4 of Teen Talk on Classic Criterion. As always, I am PM Turner, proprietor of Old Hat Cinema. For your viewing pleasure, I, along with my friend Katie, will be discussing the definitive 1958 Titanic movie, A Night to Remember. Criterion spine number 7, the earliest spine number in my collection to date. So without further ado, let's get started. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Teen Talk on Classic Criterion. This is Katie, and tonight we will be discussing Roy Ward Baker's A Night to Remember, the most realistic, factual, and, in my opinion, best film version of the sinking of the Titanic. So, I'm going to start off really simple, Katie, and then build from your answers. So, first off, did you like the film?
Definitely. It was very real feeling.
Okay, and so, other than it being so realistic, what else did you like about it? What stood out to you?
They didn't leave out as many facts as a lot of other stories leave out in a lot of documentaries. They want to dramatize it a bit. But
Definitely.
They didn't really make it stand out. This is actors that are acting.
Yes, exactly. And I think something that really helped that, and you can tell me if you agree or not, I think something that really helped that aspect of the film is that a lot of the actors they cast were not super well known, and they weren't mega stars, even of their day. And so I think that made it feel more like real people.
I definitely saw that in the film.
Yeah. So did any character in particular stand out to you?
No, they were all, like, rich people on a ship.
Exactly. The supposedly unsinkable ship. And actually, one thing that this film does not share with Titanic, the Hollywood version, or James Cameron's 90s version Titanic, is that, unlike those two, it does not center on any one or two specific characters who may or may not have been fictional. It does not tie the viewer to specific characters within the film or make it into a love story, but the style is very much like a documentary. And so at this time, Katie, I'm going to hand the show over to you, and you can give us some of your opinions.
Well, like you said, with none of them really focusing on any specific characters. Like, they did focus on a few moments, how some families might have felt in this. Like, the guy getting drunk because he didn't want to feel anything. Or the couples staying on the ship because they didn't want to get separated.
Yes, definitely.
They did focus on those small details that just not in any book, but most likely were there. And it's hard to explain how it would actually have felt on that. So it did feel like they were filming the Titanic. They could never have actually done exactly what had happened.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense.
It couldn't have felt real without actually being real. But it felt as close as it could be.
Definitely. And in fact, when they were filming some of the scenes with the survivors, no tank in the studio was big enough to film this scene, and so they actually had to film some of these scenes in a giant outdoor swimming pool in London in the middle of November, early in the morning, and it was freezing cold, which I'm sure added to the level of realism.
I mean, I wouldn't want to be in the water that cold of weather, especially here.
Yeah. In fact, the story goes that one of the actors, Kenneth More, in order to convince the extras to do it, he jumped into the pool first, got in, and was like frozen, and he was like, whoa, this is just awful. And then he surfaced from the water and shouted to the extras, don't do it, this is terrible. But by then he had already convinced them. The extras followed suit and jumped in that pool.
Well, there's probably a pool full of frozen people then.
Definitely. I hope they had warm blankets when the shooting was over.
Well, that would have been interesting.
Definitely.
But one way to convince them that they were in Arctic water.
Yeah. So this British version of the sinking of the Titanic is, I think, the best Titanic film out there. Because it takes things to such a different level than any other version. And it really retains its accuracy its devotion to the facts instead of fictionalizing it and upping the drama, because it's the sinking of the Titanic. I think that if you follow the facts and the true story, that's plenty of drama right there. So was there anything else that you wanted to add?
I don't know. I mean, it's been mentioned a couple times. It was a documentary, but it was a movie. Didn't feel like somebody trying to explain the movie.
Right, that makes sense.
So, I think we've covered the gist of what the movie really did feel like.
Yeah, for sure. So, were you glad to have the opportunity to see this Criterion film?
Definitely.
Yeah. Cool. So, thank you so much for appearing on Teen Talk on Classic Criterion, Katie. It was a pleasure. And, ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful evening. It was a pleasure to talk to Katie about this film, as she is a very intelligent and detail-oriented person. There's lots of amazing historical trivia that goes with this film, more than I could cover here, and I would highly recommend that if you're interested, or if you're a history buff, or curious about the Titanic in any way, I would suggest that you look into it for yourself. IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, is always a great place to start. It's my go-to reference. Under trivia, they offer a wide range of facts that go along with the film and pertain to the making of it. Once again, I'm PM Turner. Please remember to subscribe to Old Hat Cinema and click that like button before it drifts off into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean in a tiny lifeboat. Until next time, y'all.